Yesterday, upon the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today, I wish he'd go away. These are the opening verses of the poem written by William Hughes Mearns. He never meant it to be a serious thing, a ghost story, woven into poetry based on folklore around the town of Antigonish. For me, however, these two lines ring literally. Every so often I see him standing in the unlit rooms of my home, on the stairs outside my window. He is just standing there, staring, digging into my soul before vanishing like a void that was never even there, a constant reminder of the evil that has haunted me from my birth, the evil that brought me into this world. My father was a truly monstrous man, a bitter alcoholic who routinely beat and raped my mother. The memories of her screams and the skin-to-skin, flapping from all of it cut deeply almost every day. He did it to her until he got bored with the old hag, as he called her. Then it was my turn. His one mistake in life, his only failure. He did the same to me. His shadow still comes to prey on me in my dreams. I can feel the pain of what he had done to me lingering to this day. Not the emotional pain, the physical. One, the passage of time is unavoidable, of course. And as we both grew older, he got weaker, smaller, and I grew stronger and, more importantly, larger. Towering over him, in fact, by my mid-teens. The sexual stuff stopped, but the verbal and occasionally physical torment never did. I could have probably ended it way before I actually did, but I was too scared to do anything. Unfortunately for him, broken people like me aren't just scared, they're also angry. Rage is a powerful thing. He picked and prodded one too many times, berated a little too hard. Didn't think his child would be capable of what he could do to another. Not to him, he thought, probably. The man was a god in his mind and household. And I was just an unintentional product of a good night. Well, he was wrong because whatever happened that day ended up costing him his life. We were outside somewhere. I just remember his tongue pushed me over the edge and I picked up a rock. Smashed it into the back of his head and he fell. I remember turning him over, dazed and helpless, so helpless. His eyes darted in every direction, confused and shocked. What a sight it was to behold. I mounted him and began smashing the rock into his face, again and again and again and again, until there was only silence and the splattering of viscera all over. That wasn't the end, though. Years of frustrations and suppressed rage boiled over, and in a moment of inhumane hatred, I sank my teeth into his exposed flesh. Some sort of animalistic need to dominate him overcame me, and I ate chunks of him. No idea how much of his head and neck I broke and how much I chewed on, but by the time I was done with him, the act exhausted me to the point of collapse. When I came to my senses, the weight of my actions crushed me. My father, an unrecognizable cadaver. My clothes, hands, and face were all coated in a thick, viscous crimson. I was 17, old enough to understand the meaning of my actions and the consequences. Shaking and spinning inside my skull, I hid the corpse as best as I could under foliage and ran back home, hoping no one saw the bloody mess that I was. When I went back through that front door, alone, covered in gore, Mom immediately understood. I even saw a glimmer of light in her eye before that faded away. That monster pushed Mom beyond the point of no return, too far to heal from what he had done to her. Barely a shell of the woman I remembered from early childhood. Thankfully, she still had the strength to help me get rid of the evidence of my crime. We spoke in hushed tones inside, as if we were afraid someone might hear about our terrible secret. We kept at it for months. Even in death, that bastard reigned over us, like a cancer that isn't terminal but cannot be beaten into remission. By the time someone found his remains, Mom found the courage to speak up about his cruelty. The authorities investigating the death let her son off the hook. The court had deemed the killing an act of self-defense. Justice was finally served. We even had him buried in an unmarked grave in a simple plastic body bag. The devil didn't earn any dignity in this life or the next. In theory, we could live in peace after the fact, maybe even rebuild our lives anew. None of that happened. We lived, yes, but we were barely alive. barely human anymore. We both shuffled through the days, pretending to be better, because that's what people like us do best. We lie and put on a mask of normalcy to hide the hurt, the angst, the rage. After I was done with school, I ended up finding employment in the very worst part of society. There isn't much else I could do. I'm terrible with people and supervision. I made a lot of money doing bad things. To them, I was a perfect pick for the job, physically capable, cold, and with an easy finger on the trigger. Most importantly, though, a man with no apparent home or a place to return to. For me, it was the perfect job too. I retired Mom early and, more importantly, let my anger loose without qualms about the consequences. I had the means to exact my revenge on that monster again and again every time I pulled the trigger. Funny how trauma works. Funnier still is the fact that I can't medicate away his evil. For whatever reason, he always comes back to haunt. I was back at Mom's one day, and I dozed off on the porch, on his reclining chair, living the dream for a single moment, when a noise pulled me out of my slumber, the rustling of dry leaves in the wind. I was about to let myself doze off again when I noticed a figure standing at the edge of my property. Pulling myself upward, I called out to it, asking if it needed anything. Silence. I had called out again, but it remained silent still, and I raised my voice slightly, catching myself sounding eerily like the devil. And then the figure turned, unnervingly, slowly, unnaturally so. Years of programming and reprogramming automated my reaction. Everything fell apart when I saw its face. Rotten, black and missing one eye and chunks of its neck. Freezing in place, I panicked for the first time in years, feeling like a kid again. It was him. Somehow, too real to be a hallucination and too uncanny to be an entirely corporeal entity. Old instincts kicked in, and in my head, I started running at him, while in reality, my body slowly moved, with insecurity and caution. It saw me, turned away, and started walking into the distance. As if I had become a puppet, my legs followed. My brain was swimming in a soup of confusion, fear, and increasing anger. Before long, I held my gun in my hands as I slowly walked behind the abyss of decomposition flickering in front of me. Everything slowed down to a near halt as we walked at an equal pace, which was forced upon my body until the poltergeist vanished. As it had appeared right in front of me, I realized I was standing before my father's grave, sweating bullets and out of my element, still reeling from the entire ordeal. I was gasping for air and spinning inside my head when the notion of him getting one up on me flooded my thoughts. Something inside me snapped, infantile and raw. A sadistic, burning sort of wrath gripped at the back of my mind, and I dropped the gun, fell to the ground, and started digging up the remains of my father, single-minded and unrelenting in my desire to kill him again. Even if he was dead, I was hell-bent on pissing on whatever might have remained of his corpse. One last humiliation for scarring me for life, for being a sick memory that keeps me up at night and dominates my every unoccupied thought. My hands were bleeding when I finally got to him. I didn't care, hating how much I had become like him. In some aspects, a sick subhuman, I burst into wild laughter when I tore at the deteriorating body bag, at first completely ignoring the fact that he remained unchanged since the day we buried him. Too angry to notice it, really. Pulled myself upward after spitting in his mangled, blackened face and pissed all over it. That felt good. That felt great even, until it didn't. As I was finishing up, his remaining eye shot open, startling me, taking me back to that place of paranoid helplessness from my childhood. For a moment, I couldn't move. I could scream, and I could breathe. All I could do was stare at that hateful, evil eye piercing through my soul with vile intentions, feasting upon my fears. He stirred up from the ground. His movement jolted me awake from my fear-induced paralysis, and I leaped for my gun. Grabbing it, I screamed like a man possessed before unloading bullets into the seated carcass, dying to gnaw at me again. When the noise died out, he seemed to die with it once more. Only for a short while. Once he came back again, I thought I was losing my mind and sought therapy, but nothing worked. The medication isn't working, the talking isn't making him go away. He is still here, constantly lurking, feeding on my negativity. I've been ignoring him, pretending he isn't real, for the longest time. I don't know how much longer I can go on like this. Whatever evil tethers him to the world is slowly getting the better of me. I can feel myself back into that animalistic, rabid state of mind. I can practically feel his putrid breath on the back of my neck, digging into my body, torturing me just like he did during particularly dark nights all those years. Ego.